I want a sandwich. Now. Oh, sandwich wench. Yo, wench. Sandwich. Now. I'm going to need a sandwich. A sandwich. I'm going to need a sandwich. A sandwich. I'm going to need a sandwich. A sandwich. A sandwich. A sandwich. I'm going to need a sandwich. A sandwich. I'm going to need a sandwich. A sandwich. A sandwich. Oh, sandwich wench. I want a sandwich. Sandwich.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another political recap stream here on the Moisky Live channel. Joining me to talk about some things that were decided on about a minute ago is Trups. Say hi, Trups. There it is.
Hello, Trups.
I was waiting and I was like getting closer. I'm like, has he taken too long? Has he screwed this up?
No. I was just moving. What's the word?
Repositioning. That's what you were doing.
Yeah.
Being tactical. How is Trups?
I'm doing all right. It's the end of a week.
Yeah, it's been an interesting week here. Horrific weather on off all the time. But consolation, I finally managed to get my hands, after a decade of being without one, on a Game Boy Advance SP. And I'm so happy
A Game Boy Advance SP for what, you say?
to play.
Oh, good.
It was my
How
favorite
expensive was it?
Well, I wasn't, because I got it for free. I got a Xbox Series S with my phone contract a couple of years ago. I got it for free and I never played it. So I took it to a shop that trades called CEX, and they had an SP, and I said, look, can I have that SP and that copy of Pokemon Red? And they're like, yeah. Because the trade-in was about the same, and I'm like, there we go. I bought a new shell for the SP, and I installed it the other day, so it's got a brand new shell on it, so it's brand new casing, and it works perfectly. And I'm so happy. It's in the original colour I had, which was silver. Battery's in mint condition, and yeah, I'm very happy with this, actually. I was playing Pokemon early with it.
Nice. That's like the only game that you can actually sit and play, right?
Well, I had Yu-Gi-Oh! Destined to Duel, which I've still got, and I've got Beyblade, which I was quite fond of as well. But it's not Beyblade like in a arena, like a small bowl. No, this is more like Beyblade, where you're using one to move around various maps, which is fun. It's a fun little console, and I'm glad I've got it. Very happy. Beyond that, obviously we haven't been here for 2 weeks. Many of you here, hi Bubbly, hi Dessa, hi Leona, may have seen the more recent Not Worth a Cork episodes with my friend David, and of course the bonus being my father joined the last episode, which was hilarious because we somehow managed to get monetized even after David did the intro, because he's never done one, because I got self-conscious because my dad was there. And when he says, say hello Meg, I simply reply, fuck off. Because I don't know why. But it was a fun episode. Got my dad hammered and discovered I like tawny port. I don't like wine, but I like tawny port.
That sounds like something inappropriate. The way that, I don't know why, it just sounds like that.
There are 6 different types of port, and tawny is like that bridge between red and white. And David bought a bottle of. It's spelled Cockburn. It's pronounced Coburn. The C and K in the middle are apparently silent, like subtle with the B and receipt with the P. He bought this Coburn from Tesco, and I found it actually. And my father, who also doesn't drink port or wine, we all had a glass of it, and we all liked it. It was like, this is annoying, because I wanted to hate this. I don't like wine, but now I like this one. I may have to buy.
I see.
I'm going to buy a bottle for myself, I think. What's Traps been up to anyway?
Nothing but working. That's been my life.
Yes, over the weekend. Last weekend.
Well, yes, last weekend I did have my LARP event. I ran around in the woods with some fake weapons. Did not get arrested.
I watched on my YouTube Shorts feed some medieval reenactment stuff, and it was this one midget guy body slamming someone bigger than him, and then turning around and trying to kick a guy in a massive guy. It was like tornado tag team wrestling. Everyone was in the ring at once, and this
we had something like that.
This little hornswoggle midget guy started swinging at a guy that was clearly 4 foot taller than him. It was hilarious. The guy barely even registered him when he kicked him in the leg.
So we have it's kind of like a fight club, I guess.
Oh, really?
But it's a fight club in which you don armor.
Okay.
And blunted weapons, steel weapons, and you go at it in a ring.
Oh.
Yeah.
So that's what I saw. I didn't know that was a thing, because I years over a decade ago did LARP. That wasn't not much of a thing over here. Mostly because the weapons you were allowed to use weren't even allowed to be blunted like metal. They had to all be foam.
Yeah, that's LARP.
There were some events they were allowed to do reenactment stuff.
So
that's not the same.
Apparently, it's called armored combat sports.
Trups is very loud. Sorry, MJ. I had to rebalance the audio. My apologies. I struggle whenever we do the streams together. Sorry. Carry on.
So apparently it's called armored combat sports.
Okay.
And yeah, there's like different chapters that will go to war with each other, and basically it's like a little thing.
Okay.
I'm looking at it right now. It says the Manchester Monarchs upset the Nashua Nightmare, winning last streak last night with their first win of the season.
Okay. Well, this is
Is it actually like Manchester, like you guys, Manchester?
Because you've got a few Manchesters over there, haven't you?
Yeah.
It probably is over there because ours is a bit too city-like.
Yeah, it's New Hampshire.
Yeah,
but we do have Quebec. Quebec does get involved.
Yeah, but they're not real people.
No.
I think of them more as the lepers.
Well, you know how much money it would probably be to ship in customs a suit of armor?
I mean, I'd be more concerned about shipping in the antidote to the leprosy from the Quebec people.
Well, I mean, we would have it from you guys if we went to the UK. But yes, you're right. Canada's not a real place.
If you did it in Manchester, you've more chance of getting chinned from the chavs there. Manchester's a very, very big city now. It would be very difficult. So you wouldn't be able to LARP there safely.
So okay, there's an interesting trend that has happened on TikTok within the last month or so that I wanted to ask you about. Okay, so English roadmen.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there was a guy who, with like the most stereotypical British accent, was like, "Oi, love, you gotta be very careful when you come out here. We're gonna get you. I got this knife, and I'm gonna stab you and get you." Right? He's really like going at it, trying to intimidate.
Yeah, posing
all the Americans are laughing their asses off because A, they can't take the accent seriously while being intimidated.
Yeah.
And B, we have zero regard for our own self-worth.
Yes. Oddly enough, that was something I saw in a short where somebody was talking about how Americans are the only ones dumb enough to fly through a sandstorm or tsunami or any kind of thunderstorm that's horrendous to consider to try and help one person, forgetting their lives also matter. Which could be argued to be brave. It could also be argued to be a form of natural selection, depending on your interpretation. We British would rather leave the one person because we like Spock's dying words.
Yes, indeed. But that guy got very upset at not being taken seriously.
Well, it's very serial what he said.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he was basically just like the same kind of stuff that, our gangsters will like.
Yeah.
They'll pull out their gun, they'll wave it and all that crap. and like, oh yeah, we're a hood, we're real shit, and
Did you say there was a question to this?
yeah. What do you think of roadmen? Are you intimidated by roadmen? I know you're a big dude who has no problem getting involved.
It's a tricky one because the accent means in the online space it's keyboard warrior territory, really, isn't it?
I would, yeah.
In real life, if someone pulls up with a knife, a lot of people are going to be terrified. I'm not. Sorry, but no, I'm not. No, don't be stupid. But that's not because I think I'm tough. It's because I don't think that knife makes you tough. I trained to box. I'm sorry, the first response is your nose is getting broken. If you can see after that, you'll find the knife will have already left your hand and be embedded in a fence somewhere. Like, it's not. I'm not trying to be internet tough guy. I'm not afraid. You only have to be concerned when there's more than one, because they are smart enough to flank you. One will go behind you and they will just stab you in the back because they think it makes them look cool.
Right.
So you have to be a bit more careful. And the posing thing in person of it, it's like if someone in where you are walks up to you and pulls a gun out on you. Your response, you cannot do anything because the gun is already in your face.
Right.
Same thing said for a knife being put in your face, unless you are guaranteed to be able to disarm it. The talking thing, their accents are horrendous. Genuinely horrendous. And I don't find it remotely intimidating that they would want to brazenly demonstrate just how uneducated they are. Because I'm not entirely convinced that since they cannot use the letter T, that they have attended school nor read a single book in their lifetime.
Water bottle.
Water.
Water.
Yeah. Yeah. Water.
Yeah, water.
Yeah. You got it. Yes.
Listen, I've heard enough British people talk.
My dad talks like that, so it's fine.
He?
I call
there's a difference between like water and water.
But it's a thing where he was a dustman for years. He's always been like that. I called him a chav on the live stream, and he didn't really care. He doesn't give a shit, you know.
Yeah, that's the thing.
He's 60. He doesn't care. He really has no reason to.
Oh yeah, at that point, I mean, sure. What 60-year-old man who is blue collar is really wondering about their image in society? I mean,
he doesn't think he worries about his image at all in life. He doesn't give a shit.
That's a difference in generation, which I kind of
I'm slightly jealous because I've always been very self-conscious compared to my father.
MJ, what do you mean, granddad?
He is a grandfather, but he's my father, so please don't call him a granddad.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, Meg, what have you been hiding from me?
Apparently, I've been hiding from myself.
Well, you know that.
I don't even know. I don't have kids, thankfully. I'd be a terrible dad. So anyway, where should we start?
Well, okay. Would you like to start with something larger that has more potential for a conversation? Or
should we get the smaller things out of the way first?
Sure.
So you'd mentioned to me at the start, before we started even, Hamza Yusuf was kind of all over the news. Now, Hamza Yusuf is a fascinating creature. Not convinced he's human because he looks down on people based on the colour of their skin. Those comments he's made about that kind of stuff, though, have been going on for years. He's been doing it since he was, well, to be fair, the SNP have been in power for a long time. But since they've been in the position of power, Hamza that is, he has dunked on the fact that his country is mostly white and most politicians are white when the country's fabric is 90% plus. Interestingly, I found out, according to the UK census from 2010 and 2020, or 2011 and 2022, the white population in the UK grew by 2%. Overall, so they went from 80% in 2010 to 82% in 2022. I'm sure there are a number of people who are now, just in the back of their heads, they're going, white power. Just quietly, because they don't want anyone to hear them saying it.
Sure.
But Hamza Yusuf is much like Nicola Sturgeon, much like Alex Salmond, anyone else who's led the SNP. He's very devout to the idea of erasing much of the country's identity replacing it with something more globalist, and at the same time, obviously leaving the United Kingdom, and Nanny stating up like there's no tomorrow his entire country, to the point that his country would be a cringe fest.
Mm-hmm.
So why did you see him in the news then, Trups?
Oh, because Dankulo kept talking about him. I mean, constantly. He's been talking about him, but basically because he has been responsible for multiple, hate crime
Violations.
reports. Yes.
Oh yeah, and
a law that he helped pass.
Yes. So, the hate crime bill that they passed led to a lot of accusations levied at J.K. Rowling, who lives in a castle in Scotland, not Hogwarts, and those accusations, where then the police determined them not to be hate crime, and Hamza had said, "Well, it's not a hate crime because contextually, what harm is she causing?" And I'm sat here like, your party allowed a guy to be done as an anti-Semite for teaching his dog to raise a fist. Like, it raised some toe beans and up to the Seek Kyle comment.
Mm-hmm.
I've said it that way on purpose because obviously we can't say it the way it's meant to be said. And also we're not dumb enough because I don't want to have some Scottish police go from one end of the country to my end of the country, of my country anyway, and say they can arrest me or some shit for some photo opportunity while having journalists outside. Piss off. But yeah, no, this is nonsense. He's now on the receiving end of the very thing that he's created. Thing is, he created it not to protect free speech. No. He created it to instead protect politicians from the very criticisms that they're now getting complaints about. Because he wanted to use that law to punish anyone that shat on a politician that was in power. That's the only reason it was created.
Crazy.
It's not great. Do you know how many complaints have been levied at him yet, or is this unknown?
It was over like 200, I think it was, when I looked at Dankula's video, but I forget.
If memory serves, it was over 1,000 for J.K. Rowling. I found a tweet here though from him. I'll see if I can screen share this. This is safe to screen share. Where is it? There? Nope. There it is. So Hamza probably genuinely can't compute how taking people's rights away made those same people not like him. He is really that stupid. Poll shows his popularity has plummeted following the hate crime fiasco, basically. Also, the very first arrest under the law was a bogus complaint. It was a little old lady too. Hamza was warned that this law would turn Scotland into Salem. People would just point the finger at anyone they had a grievance with. Hamza didn't care. The lady is 74 years old. What the hell is wrong with you, Hamza? The thing is, this reminds me of a friend of mine called Hannah. She tweeted about that, like with YouTube apologies, if we did it as the witch trials instead, like there wouldn't be any YouTubers left. And in Scotland, that same thing you can argue in the context of Scottish people now with this stupid little law. There won't be any bloody Scottish people left if they keep on pushing this bollocks. Wrong screen. Sorry if I went to the wrong screen there, folks. I wanted to show the tweet. Yeah, no, I'm not a fan. I don't agree with that in the slightest. I may have to look into that more in the future.
But it is funny.
It is. Out of curiosity, are there any laws like that in your country?
So, you're talking about hate speech laws, right?
Yeah.
Yes, but also no.
Your constitution would kind of ruin that, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but that's not okay. So our constitution doesn't really mean shit when it comes to certain things. When it comes to like hate speech and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Some would argue that we do have hate speech law protections, but that doesn't mean, based on like our conversations about Title IX, about the exploitative nature of HR in most businesses, that your freedom of speech is kind of lacking. And when it comes to hate speech, the one that's really interesting to me is recently we've had a whole bunch of protests, right? And there was a guy who did an experiment. in which he burned an American flag and a pride flag.
Really?
And to see which one would get him a sentence.
It would be the pride flag, surely.
Yes.
I had to guess that because it's the obvious one. It had to be.
Yeah. He said the right-leaning Western Journal website reported that as leftists are free to torch U.S. flags across the nation, an Iowa man is paying a heavy price for burning a rainbow LGBT pride flag. Adolfo Martinez of Ames was sentenced Wednesday in 2019 to a whopping 15 years in prison for the hate crime of arson, according to the Associated Press.
15 years is far too long.
Mm-hmm. Versus The Sun, which said a homophobe who wanted to punish gays has been jailed for 16 years for burning an LGBT pride flag. A tougher sentence than for rape.
Yeah, I don't agree with that in the sentence. I don't agree in the sentence of burning that in the first place. It shouldn't be It's not a crime. As far as I'm concerned, it is not a crime. Therefore, it should be instantly withdrawn and he should be free.
So, and of course, like, the crime of arson, I would have to know more about the circumstances in which he burned it. So, like, if he burned a flag that wasn't his, a place in which more damage could have been done.
Was it his own first private property and it was like an...
I imagine it was, because most of the people who do these kinds of things are usually aware of the rest of the rules. So I'm going to presume, until, told otherwise, that yes, he did burn his own property.
Then it's not up for debate. He shouldn't be in prison. Simple as that. It's his personal property. What the icon on it is means sod all. A load of shit.
Mm-hmm. So, yes, to your question of do we have hate crime laws? Yes, technically.
I hope he's appealing that, because that is nonsense.
I don't know.
If he isn't, I mean, that's impressive that he's willing to take that, because I wouldn't. I'd appeal the fuck out of that. Well said.
Yes, thank you. Let's see here. I'm looking at the Des Moines Register. Oh, it wasn't his.
Oh, it wasn't. Oh, okay, then criminal
It wasn't.
damage.
Martinez admitted to the police that he lit the banner on fire with lighter fluid and a lighter after stealing it from a church.
I'll be honest, 15 years is still far too long for that. He could just be made to clean the church for a while.
True.
Like, overkill much? Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. He faced a maximum of 5 years in prison for the hate crime and arson, and arson charge, and a maximum of a year and a month for the other two. Court records list him as a habitual offender, allowing him to be sentenced to a longer prison term. Okay, that's why.
I still don't agree with it, but fine.
But yes, but as that sentence stated, yes, we do have hate crime laws.
Yes, you do. I'm not okay with that.
So, yeah, we aren't so free speech absolutist as I would like us to be.
Sadly, I don't think any country ever could be that now. And lots of people are starting to understand how this is so shitty. Oddly enough, it was pointing out certain double standards is quite. Mm-hmm. I was doing it earlier on Twitter with the Taylor Swift thing, because again, she's written an entire album about ex-boyfriends, all English ones. So 5 ex-boyfriends she's written an album about, essentially. But they're referenced in these songs, and I'm sat here like, guy does that misogyny, woman does it empowering. Okay, now we do now we do the IRL version. Man sleeps around, he's a stud. Woman does it, she a slut.
As a guy, you're still a slut.
Oh yeah, but not as frowned upon as the loose lip.
Well, so that's a funny thing, though. Like,
it's a weird
guy
balance thing. I find it.
If guy sleeps around,
yeah,
and wraps his tool,
yeah,
doesn't get STDs, no one would know.
Mm-hmm.
Women sleeps around, forces guy to wrap tool. to prevent getting STDs, she would be considered, harshing the vibe. But
Yes.
that would be basically STDs is why people who are promiscuous get criticized. Like the reason why we criticize promiscuity isn't necessarily based in just religion. It's also because that's how STDs happen.
There was a thing I saw recently. There was a rise in popularity leading to anorectal STIs. And what's the thing you get from what was it? There's an illness you can get from consuming fecal matter from somebody in food or something as well. It was a rise of something really dumb, and it's entirely because the comment was too many of the current generation are too busy eating arse to eat proper food, and instead getting ill because of it.
I don't think I've ever heard that. So
I can't remember what it was called. I saw it as well in the news, and I should have kept it because it made me laugh so much. I cried with laughter at it. It's so dumb. But I have no life, so if someone knows what I'm talking about, please help. Otherwise, I'll strike it from the record. Anyway, no, the reason I mentioned it is because that imbalance thing in society as a whole, and the free speech.
No, yeah, and I agree with you in that.
But also, hang on, I need to cough. 1 sec.
Okay.
No, also, I just wanted to highlight that I do actually post on Twitter from time to time, and I think Taylor Swift is easy. Carrying on. Who's next on the list today?
Let's talk about Israel.
Oh, yay. So this one's been fascinating because this is still going on, but then I didn't know until... I didn't know Iran had any horse in the race until they injected themselves into it. That makes sense? So what the hell happened?
So a while back, Israel had struck an embassy.
Oh no.
And they had launched it from Israel to the embassy. I think the embassy was in Syria. Israel strikes embassy. I want to make sure I get this right. In Iran's consulate in Syria that killed 2 generals and 5 other officers. So that was like 2 weeks ago. And then Iran said, we will respond because Israel has launched an attack from their soil to technically their soil, because an embassy, a consulate, those are technically representations of that country in another place. So last week, it might have been sooner, more recent than just last week, but recently, Iran responded. It might have been earlier this week, actually. Iran responded, launching about 350-ish unmanned drones and missiles into Israel. They were shot down by Israel's defense systems, Israel's IDF, the U.S., and Jordan, actually, the Jordan Air Force. And I think some other people as well, some other guys in the area. And the only casualty was that a little girl had gotten hit by a drone. She did not die. She was injured, not critically, went to a hospital, was handled. I believe it was on a specifically, I think that one was hit near a military base. On or near any military base. So I think it was less than 5% of all of the missiles that they launched actually made it somewhere into Israel's ground, right? At which point, then Iran said, And let that be a lesson to you, and let this be done and over with.
Oh dear.
Okay, before I continue on with what happened after that, I said, yeah, this is like flexing, like trying to lift like just 450 pounds in the gym, like lifting it like half an inch, putting it back down, and going, see that? I told you I could do it. At which point everyone can go, oh wow, yeah, I mean, yeah, good job, yeah, good. And you could have left it at that. You could have left it. It could have been done. Like nothing happened. Iran failed, but Israel couldn't do that. So they launched an attack yesterday. Israel Struck,
Yeah.
Yep. Israel did a limited military strike against Iran. And they shot next to a nuclear site in central Iran. Which was interesting. So I think based on the target area, right?
Yeah.
It makes me think that Israel basically said, oh, you think you can do this and get away with it? Hang on a second. Let me show you just how fast this could go poorly. And then launched a strike next to a nuclear facility so that, they're like, reminder who you're fucking with.
Yeah, this stuff's going to get messy, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It is. And I have such a hard time. Like, my first and foremost, opinion is, guys, you could have just left it alone after Iran failed, and they could have, went home thinking they were hot shit, and you got away scot-free after killing their generals, destroying the consulate and 5 officers, and
problem they've got
whatever.
There is, and it's a cultural thing, I think, where there is just no chill.
I kind of get it, and I don't necessarily blame them. And the only reason why I even want to entertain that thought is, I mean, if you remember back of what Israel is, what Israel has been, since its inception in 1947, they've had to be the people to basically strong arm against everyone else in the region. Kind of like if you've taught an animal to be aggressive, by putting them in aggressive situations, and you threaten it, you shouldn't be surprised when it bites you. However, I wanted to imagine that Israel could have done better regarding the Iranian thing.
Yes.
I know there's plenty of issues regarding Israel and Gaza. That's an entirely different conversation for an entirely different point, but it all kind of circles back into Israel has a very, very tense political situation right now, and a societal issue right now.
Yeah.
They have a government. Oh, well, hold on. The people overwhelmingly still support a war against Gaza. But they don't support Benjamin Netanyahu.
It's not surprising. He is he's a very angry man.
The sentiment that I have understood from the various different reading that I've done is that the people want retribution for what has happened, but they want it actually against the people who did it.
That's fair.
Which I'm like, that's a good take. I think that's good. So like Benjamin Netanyahu having struck the vehicle, or the IDF having struck the vehicles that were delivering food. I think that was a week ago that happened. That was completely unacceptable. Like, there is no excuse for striking a aid van that allegedly had even coordinated with the idea. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. So my view when it comes to humanitarian aid is that stuff is off limits. Same with journalists. They're meant to be given. There's meant to be obviously in war. I kind of understand why they're not ignored, but they're not there to be involved. They aren't. So they're just Yeah,
there has been some issues actually with the journalist thing in particular.
not surprised.
They have found that, well, at least this is according to Israel, but we have found at least a substantive proof that they may have been correct. The claim, I think this was like maybe 3 weeks to a month or so ago, maybe longer. This has been going on since October now, so my time frame might be very screwed up.
It might be skewed, yeah.
At one point, there was a refugee center facility area that they drone struck. They hit with a drone.
No.
And they did hit civilians, a journalist, and several officers.
Really?
What we come to find out is that Hamas intentionally will put themselves within civilians and with journalists.
Well,
so that
clever.
If they get... Yes.
It's clever.
It's actually, technically, no. I think that's supposed to be illegal. And the only reason I say it's supposed to be because places of worship, schools, and hospitals are not allowed to be used to house soldiers in times of war.
Okay.
Because those are supposed to be sanctuary locations.
Yeah. It's an interesting one because I think it's still clever, but obviously it's not great.
But okay, let's just say, well, let's play the Gazan side first. So they just happen to be in the same location. Israel should have exercised better restraint and used their drone strike to pinpoint their attack when it was more convenient and less civilians would be able. Okay, that's a side. We can take that. That's a reasonable argument. The other side is Hamas intentionally knows that by surrounding themselves with civilian casualties, that when Israel inevitably tries to kill any of the officers or members, that they will lose the PR battle because civilians will have died.
There's a big PR battle. Well, so I'm curious about that because the PR thing in certainly my country, your country, PR is key. Like optics, sound bites, they're so important. Do we know if it's the same in Israel, considering how vastly culturally different it is?
Yes, it is very similar.
Okay, so I had to ask that obviously because I'm not as smart. So I'm kind of curious on that.
Yes, so they have in the past one of the biggest things, and somebody writes in the chat like they are a terrorist organization. Let's say they were using civilians or schools to launch their attacks. Who do you hold accountable? Like what? Like do you find like the head of Hamas? You know that Hamas is being subsidized by Iran. You know that the Yemen rebels are being subsidized by Iran. We know that Hezbollah is being subsidized by Iran.
Yeah.
Do we then punish Iran for the actions of their backed militias? They didn't do it. They just gave them weapons. They didn't tell them, here, you do this. They just said, do what you will with this.
This sounds like while not completely connected, it reminds me of the Taiwan thing of, because America wouldn't be responsible for, but they are permitted to give weapons to Taiwan if China tried to invade.
Yes.
It reminds me of that
because of some kind of agreement that we had made a while back.
Yeah, it just reminds me of that in a way of like you're not directly involved, but you are indirectly involved. In the same sense with Iran, I guess.
Right, but like the question then. Goodness, what are you looking at?
Hello, cat.
Sorry, my cat. Yeah, my cat is like staring, like at its feet, like looking at like. Are you looking at a bug?
All the toe beams.
Are you looking at a bug? Are you tracking a bug on your tower? Okay.
Eat it.
Well, eat it.
Protein.
Fucking. But like the question would be like, why would Hamas, a terrorist organization, care about what the Hague or the UN, especially when they are jihadis, why would they care about what the West has determined to be an illegal action?
Yeah.
Like, I'm doing illegal things. Oh no, that's more illegal. Oh no.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'm a super criminal now. Cool. Like, what is that going to stop them? Like, what kind of a deterrent is that? It's the same idea of, oh, well, if you just make more laws, then criminals can't break the laws because that's illegal.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of partially part of the whole thing. So now we have Israel, who has once again attacked Iran, and we get to look forward to Iran's next attempt at making an issue. Now, there was a warning originally after Iran had struck Israel that Israel had said that they were going to get back at them at some point. And Russia had warned the United States not to get involved or they would.
Mm-hmm.
You know, very, very World War III. Good.
A bit, yes.
So we were not involved in the attack, allegedly. We were not involved, but they have completely denied any kind of knowledge that we knew that was going to happen.
Okay.
But I don't believe that anything can happen without us not knowing.
Kind of agree with you on that one.
Especially because we have way too many people involved, and like we have too many phone numbers to all the important people, right? I would be shocked now to see, okay, so we weren't allowed to engage in the strike against Iran. Cool, we didn't. So if Iran strikes back against Israel, is Russia going to say, oh, we're getting involved now too in striking Israel?
God, if Russia get involved,
I think that would be a ballsy ass move for Russia to do that. I don't think they have the cojones.
I don't think they do either. Just the thing here, right? If they threw their soldiers at that as well, they'd only be culling their population. No offense to Russia, but your troops apparently are only good at one thing: dying in large numbers.
Yeah.
So I'm just not convinced going up against Israel's troops or Israel as a whole, you guys will stand much of a chance, even if Israel is a tiny little country. It would just lead to even more problems on the international stage as well. They need to not be involved.
Well, right now the international issue is very, very, very hot.
Yes, it is.
I mean, this is a day by day kind of a wait and see thing.
Mm-hmm.
And say Russia is already overextended, maybe for ground troops, but not for ballistic missiles.
So, question then: what is the ideal way for this to end?
That's rough.
A bit loaded, I feel, but
I think we're a little past where I would have ideally liked it to end.
Yeah.
I would have loved it if Israel had just been like, oh, cool, they landed like 4 rockets and no one died. We're good. I would have loved it to stop there.
That'd have been nice.
We didn't do that. So now we have to wait and see what Iran has to do.
Okay. Okay.
So Iran is going to do their next thing.
Okay.
And if it's a high severity impact, I don't see us ideally ending that situation. The best case scenario would be somebody telling Iran, don't do it. I mean, Biden did. When asked by a reporter, they were like, what advice do you have to Iran given Israel's striking the thing? Don't. Oh good. Fucking words of wisdom. Thank you.
On the same page, I see.
Yeah, clearly. But it's just hilarious that literally one word, don't.
I saw in the news that somebody said one word. I wonder what it was. Yeah. That intrigued me.
So I can better answer that question when we see what Iran does.
What do you think they will do? Because they're closer to enrichment now, aren't they?
They are, but they wouldn't dare. Because then their entire country would be reduced to a parking lot.
I don't think it'd be a parking lot per se, but I do think it'd be a rather nice glass factory.
I mean, we would definitely get some greenhouse gases being reflected back into space. The sun's rays would go back into space.
The ozone was doing so well, and then Iran just had to open its mouth and pull on that trigger.
No, genuinely, if they get to the point where they wily want to think, oh yeah, look, Iran. I made this analogy to my boss at work. Actually, Iran is like the country in a game of Civ that just entered the atomic era 100 years, like in a entire age behind the rest of the game.
Honestly, I'm with you on that.
So if they decide with their, limited military force, their one missile that they want to try something, natural selection should tell them they're stupid.
Stupid seems accurate, to be honest.
I mean, they don't have a whole lot of stuff that's actually like worth it. Like they had a whole bunch of destroyers, and they crashed one. They blew themselves up during a training exercise when they accidentally shot one with real armaments.
Yeah.
So now they had, and I think another one just like fell apart. So out of like the 6 that they had, they have 3 left, and that was like 20 years ago.
Oh dear.
So I genuinely, I don't think they have much.
It's a bit embarrassing then, really, isn't it, for them?
It's horribly embarrassing, but they don't want to be embarrassed because their ego is too high. So that's why I think they're going to give a response.
Well, a lot of them think themselves above where they are. They think they want to be there, and they're not. They just think they belong on that level, and they're not. They're nowhere near it.
Yeah, like Saudi Arabia looks at them and goes, "Huh,
you're embarrassing
a little."
us.
Yeah, it's like a brother who is like 10 years older looking at their like 12-year-old like little brother who is like trying to be cool.
Yeah.
And it's just like, huh. I was there once.
Yeah.
Thank God I'm not there anymore.
I can imagine Saudi Arabia looking at them going, "Can you please stop? Because this is not. You don't look good doing this."
Now I acknowledge the Saudis and the Iranians are not friends. I acknowledge that. But in terms of Middle Eastern powers, Saudi Arabia looks at Iran like, why do you have to be this way? Like Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Jordan, and a couple other locations are all looking at each other like, we're cool? All right, we're cool. Selling oil, making shit tons of money? Awesome. Cool. Enjoy your diamond-studded Lamborghini. I don't know if you've seen pictures of like Dubai
I've seen Bahrain is there as well.
Yeah, what the fuck is the place in the UAE?
Dubai is very ostentatious. Tax haven as well.
No.
Oh, OBS just disconnected and reconnected. Yay. Any interference on the stream, folks, I do apologise. It wasn't...
Abu Dhabi.
Oh, Abu Dhabi. Yeah, they've got a Grand Prix over there.
Oh God, it's such a gorgeous city. Ugh.
Well, they built it, so yes, of course it is.
Yeah.
They had the money for it.
Oh my God, they have so much money.
They do. We have 10 minutes left. Do you
All right,
want to
cool,
talk about the thumbnail?
Yeah, let's go.
Is he in prison yet?
No, but there is a jury.
How'd they manage that?
So recap real quick. Trump has, this week, he has been in jury selection for his hush money trial against Stormy Daniels. Fun story, before this even happened, the week prior, Michael Avenatti came back out of obscurity, from his prison cell.
Yeah.
To basically say to Ari Melber on MSNBC, basically came out and said, this is a bad case.
No shit.
This is not the time. Like, certain things age well. This is not one of those things.
Mm-hmm.
This should not be the first trial. This should not be the trial that people are all hanging their hats on.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a good look, and let's be honest, you have to put up Michael Cohen as a witness to further the point.
Michael Cohen is one of the worst witnesses because they're found to be untrustworthy anyway.
He has lied to Congress.
Yeah.
Now, some people have said, well, that goes to, Trump's idea for hiring him. I'm like, maybe you could argue that Trump intentionally, worked with somebody who was, duplicitous and a liar and a snake, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could say that. That could be an argument.
A politician does, yes.
Right. Or he could have done it on his own.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm the boss and I say, handle it, bill me when you're done, I've given you one instruction, handle it. Yep. I haven't told you how. So the presumption of innocence would say that I meant for you to do it legally, you dickhead.
That would make sense, yes.
You're a lawyer, for God's sake.
Yep.
Why would you get me in trouble? This does not help me do my job. Like, if I'm the boss and my lawyer fucks me over, I don't like him. He's not a good lawyer.
He's not a good lawyer, though, is he, really?
Right, but it's not my job to micromanage a lawyer. I don't know if you ever tried to do that. It doesn't go well.
I'd rather not, because micromanaging people is a shitty thing to do.
So, yeah, you can't. They would have to produce some sort of evidence that said that Trump specifically told him, like, we are going to commit fraud in order to do this.
I'd love to see them prove that.
Yeah, me too. And today they were arguing whether or not they could bring in character evidence against Trump.
Like what?
And I bet... Ooh, you want to... Oh, I want you to guess. Guess what character evidence that they were trying to bring in.
Grab him by the pussy.
Well, yeah, that's one. That's
the obvious
one. Else? What else?
Oh, God, hang on. It's not going to include, like, the anyone who's done his little physicals, is it?
No. Like, they want to do his, his credibility as a man, as a businessman.
Fuck's sake.
They want to bring in the court case about the fraud.
The moment you said in like business, I fucking knew it. Thing is, that's ongoing. They can't use it. He's appealing it.
Well, their argument is that a judge has decided that, or has had the opinion that he has intentionally committed fraud. So that
the judge decided it before it was even over.
Yeah, that's true. And they also want to bring in the Eugene Carroll case. And they also want to bring in all the other cases that he's currently litigating as evidence of him being... Basically, they want to litigate all of the trials all at the same time, every single time.
Oh, no, that's really bad. I assume they're going to also get Christine Blasey Ford just to come out and say that he touched her too.
Oh, God. If they could, they would.
And make it as equally convincing as last time with Brett Kavanaugh, where she couldn't recall any specifics.
Do you remember what you were wearing? Do you remember how many doors the house had? Do you remember what day it was?
I got more chance of remembering what I was wearing when we covered it than she did when she was doing whatever it was she was doing that night.
Mm-hmm. I bet you I was wearing jeans.
Either
Either wearing jeans or I was sitting there in boxers. Doesn't matter, but one of those.
Or nothing at all.
Yeah. But yeah, they want to bring in all of them and he's going under something called a Sandoval trial, which essentially is the prosecution is bringing up that information. They're basically presenting it to the judge.
Uh-huh.
And basically they're presenting all the evidence they want to put before the jury gets seated. The defense is going to tell them why they should or should not be able to do that. This is something unique to New York, by the way.
This feels like it's intentionally being done in New York to screw with him in New York, and for no reason beyond that.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Yeah. If he does take the stand, prosecutors would also like to ask him about the verdict in the DA's successful criminal tax fraud prosecution of the Trump Organization and a settlement his Trump Foundation struck with the AG's office in 2019. They also want Judge Merchan to allow them to ask about the Trump lawsuit against Hillary Clinton and others that resulted in Trump and one of his lawyers being sanctioned in order to pay about $1 million in fees for filing a frivolous bad faith lawsuit.
Uh-huh.
The judge in that case handed down a penalty after having found that Mr. Trump is a prolific and sophisticated litigant who is repeatedly using the courts to seek revenge on political adversaries. He is the mastermind of strategic abuse of the judicial process, and he cannot be seen as a litigant blindly following the advice of a lawyer. He knew full well the impact of his actions. I'm presuming, by the way, that case against Hillary Clinton had something to do. Aha. Yes, it was the Trump's lawsuit alleges Clinton and the Democrats tried to rig the 2016 U.S. presidential election by tying his campaign to Russia.
Well, they did.
I know! Isn't that the worst part?
They did it for 4 years, and they tried to prove they impeached him. But they didn't prove he'd done anything in it.
Mm-hmm. And not only that, but so that campaign finance violation that the Clinton campaign was found to have, your payment actually went to a foreign entity for campaign. Yeah, it was settled and it was a fine.
Lol.
Versus what this is, which is the same crime, quote unquote, of which the FEC has said don't prosecute it. There's nothing there. It's a fine, maybe at most. This is a campaign finance issue. This is using campaign money to pay off a retainer to catch and kill stories that could have been detrimental to his campaign.
Right.
Okay. Right. That is the crux, actually, of this issue. It has nothing to do with adultery. Has nothing to do with him being unfaithful. Has nothing to do. That's all other bullshit.
Uh-huh.
The actual crime that he's accused of is improperly using campaign money to pay a lawyer for a hush money thing. And the felony aspect to this is that they allege that his action in doing so, of using campaign money to, do hush money, is in the furtherance of another felony crime. And if you're asking what other felony crime could that be?
Or one's noggin does jog, but I'm not entirely sure.
They don't know.
Well, of course not. They haven't found one yet. Okay.
They just believe it.
You can't run with this. This is why this is such a Mickey Mouse. Oh, New York's a joke.
And that is why even Avenatti said, "What are you doing? I was the lawyer who was going to prosecute this originally. What the hell?"
You've got to be desperate because he's basically the primary winner. They want to get rid of him. So if they manage to get rid of him, who they want to reduce the chances of Biden losing, right?
Yeah.
And Trump is probably the best option to beat Biden. Whether that's the best option, I don't know.
They are afraid of him.
They are, and this shows. This shows
Mm-hmm.
they're terrified, and that's tragic. Really is.
And even playing the PR game, Donald Trump asked to be able to skip, I believe, Thursday's court,
Yeah.
so that he could appear at the Supreme Court for the ruling or for arguments regarding his presidential immunity about the coup case. So that's the DC case, about whether or not he was in his official duties at the time and can he be prosecuted after the fact, despite being exonerated in an impeachment or found acquitted.
He first of all, he didn't actually do anything wrong. He told him to go home.
Right.
So he should be exempt anyway.
Right.
That should be interesting. Okay.
Doesn't this all hurt your head?
My head does hurt, yes. And maybe it's best that it does right now because we actually have to finish.
We do.
Are we here next week, Trups?
I believe so, yes.
Fantastic. Well, guys, this will be on Spotify tomorrow and Rumble as well. I'm going to... we'll end now. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. Don't forget to smash the like. 23 of you here. 15 likes. That's disgusting. If you have time to watch, you have time to give me galaxies. That's a TikTok.
I saw that.
Yeah,
I saw that.
I'm glad you did. Yes, if you have time to watch, you have time to give us galaxies. Thank you again. We'll see you next week. Say good night, Trups.
Good night, Trups.
Good night, Trups.